Claude Desktop is Anthropic's native Mac and Windows application, and it is, at this point, the most capable general-purpose AI assistant on the market. The structural thing to understand first is the three-tab layout. Chat is the classical conversational Claude. Single thread, fast, great for reasoning and writing. Cowork is a persistent workspace for long-running knowledge work with documents, memory, and state that survives across sessions. Code is a full agentic software engineering environment running Claude Code natively. The insight is that those are three genuinely different interaction modes, and most other tools collapse them into one chat window. Claude Desktop treats them as separate workspaces, each optimized for its task. That architectural choice is the single most important reason the product has pulled ahead.
Chat is where most new users start, and it is deceptively powerful. You can attach PDFs, spreadsheets, code files, images. Claude handles them natively. You can talk to it with voice. You can project scope conversations with system prompts and persistent instructions. In our interviews, the lawyers, analysts, and writers almost all live in chat. But when we ask them what they actually do, drafting briefs, analyzing financials, writing long-form reports, we see that they are doing exactly what Cowork is designed for. They just have not made the jump yet. Chat is the front door. Cowork is where serious multi-day output lives. Getting users to cross that threshold is the single biggest adoption lever in the product.
Cowork is the sleeper hit of the product. It gives Claude a persistent project with documents, memory files, and task state. You open Cowork on Monday, work on a research memo, close the laptop. Tuesday, you open it back up, and Claude remembers every decision, every edit, every why. It has the auto memory system, user preferences, project context, feedback on how you like to work, layered in. For a multi-day project, Cowork is effectively irreplaceable. The closest comparison is a Google Doc with a very senior collaborator who never forgets the conversation you had last week, never has to be reoriented, and always picks up exactly where you left off. Code is where Claude Desktop separates from every competitor. The Code tab runs the full Claude Code agent natively in the app. It reads your codebase with glob and grep, edits files with a surgical edit tool, runs shell commands in a sandbox, runs tests, reads the results, and iterates until the task is actually done. It is not autocomplete. It is not chat about code. It is an engineer that opens your repo, takes your ticket, and produces a working commit. The other AI coding tools have been narrowing the gap, but on any non-trivial multi-file task, Claude Code still finishes cleanly more often than any alternative I have benchmarked. That is the real moat. The feature I would single out above everything else is skills. A skill is a packaged capability, a markdown file with a name, description, and instructions, optionally with its own scoped tools and files. You drop it in a skills folder, and now typing /skillname invokes it. I have a /commit that writes git commit messages in our repo's house style, a /review PR that pulls a pull request and writes a review, a /standup that summarizes what I did yesterday. Once you build 10 of them, you stop writing prompts from scratch. Your entire workflow becomes a keystroke. That compounding is what moves this from chatbot to tool.
Scheduled tasks is the other capability we see changing people's day fundamentally. You write a prompt, say, every weekday at 7:45, pull my calendar, summarize each meeting with context and one preparation note, and Claude runs it on a cron schedule. One-off reminders work too. In our research, users with more than 5 active scheduled tasks report roughly 30 to 40 minutes of reclaimed time per day. It is essentially a standing army of small analysts. The key is that the tasks are real prompts with tool access, not rigid automations. They reason about the inputs each time they fire, which is what makes them different from traditional workflow software.
Parallel sessions unlock an entirely different workflow. From any Claude Code session, you can spawn a new session in a Git worktree, an isolated copy of your repo on its own branch. You give it a task, it runs in the background, and you keep working in the foreground. When the background session finishes, you get a notification and can review the changes. I routinely have 3 or 4 clouds running simultaneously, one refactoring the authentication layer, one writing tests, one chasing a bug, one drafting documentation. It is the first time I have felt I could genuinely scale myself as an engineer. The tooling to make that safe, work trees, isolated branches, cleanup on exit, is all built in. The last piece is extensibility, and this is where Claude Desktop has pulled meaningfully ahead. / commands let you define custom shortcuts. The Model Context Protocol, MCP, lets Claude talk to any tool or data source that ships an MCP server. Notion, Linear, your internal database, your browser, your local preview server, scheduled tasks themselves. There are hundreds of MCP servers now. When you combine the 3 tabs, skills, scheduled tasks, parallel sessions, /commands, and MCP, you have a platform, not a chatbot. My honest take, if you do any knowledge work and you are not using Claude Desktop, you are leaving a material amount of productivity on the table. This is the tool to adopt this year.